Thanks to those joining me live and to those that'll be joining me on archive. I'm being joined by Calix. What's going on, Calix?
I am in the building. Y'all must have forgot.
Y'all must have forgot this logo, all right? Just for tonight, because this is this is Doomsday, the final day, Armageddon. Like for no reason, YouTube is getting rid of it, like just because. But there are alternative ways. We will get to that. I wanted to write this hangout thing till the very end. But there it is, man. The old school D-Style Hangouts logo. I wrote with this logo for at least 2.5 years or so. Okay, and then I went to the one with the boxer with the hoodie or whatever. And then I went to the one I have now with a Mexican crest in a cool way. But what's up to AJ10 in the house, official fact checker? You guys say something wrong, he's going to fact check you.
You have a fact checker?
That's right. AJ10 nice. The official fact checker of the show. I do it because, nobody wants to hear me on here and then say, oh, hold on, guys, let me look this up. Like, nobody wants to hear that, right? Okay, Chris Sam, what up, y'all? Jonathan Sarton, what up? Chris, y'all must have forget. Absolutely. Let me go ahead and get this avatar out of here. Okay. And now you guys get to see me in the flesh. All right. A lot of people jealous out there, because I still look young and and all that. It's all good,
You look exactly like you did 10 years ago, man.
Absolutely. Just lost a little bit of weight. That's all. You know what I mean? Plus it's summertime. Got to lose weight in the summertime. All right. But anyway, I got my Buffalo Bills thing going right here. Look at this. Jim Kelly.
That's a nice. Yeah, you can't. Him or Thurman Thomas, our Bruce Smith.
That's right.
Shout out to the old Buffalo Bills, man. They don't get their due.
Absolutely. Look at that.
Jim Kelly, one of the greats.
That's right. By the way, if you like the content, make sure you subscribe and hit that share button. All right. First of all, Calix, what's your favorite memory of Hangouts? Just anything you've ever done on Hangouts that if it wasn't for Hangouts, it wouldn't happen.
All of my stuff that I've done with y'all. I mean, to be honest, you and 916 Chris, bring back memories of him as well. And even going further back than Hangouts, I mean, you can go all the way back to Uvu. Remember the Uvu days? I mean, you right. Posted about that. I think that was the original. That's what kicked all this off, the collabs and everybody getting on with each other at one time, face to face. So that really kicked it off. And then Hangouts really took it to another level. So just being face to face with people, like I said, man, New Orleans is a boxing starved area, so that's originally the reason I got on YouTube and just wanted to kick it with people on boxing and met a lot of good people here, so brought people together.
Definitely. I mean, I remember the first time I just discovered YouTube boxing. You know what I mean? Like not fight. The first time I was just looking at fights. You know what I mean? And then I saw someone talking about boxing, bro. I saw Blood Boxing, Buddha-Side, Body Banger. I don't know if you remember him. Pound for Pound Boxing. I mean, there was a lot of channels, and I said to myself, damn. Like, I swear to God, I said, 80 people watch this shit.
I know.
and I said, if like 20 dudes could listen to me talk about boxing,
right,
I'm in. Like, right. That's a lot. Imagine being at the bar and like 20 dudes are surrounding you, like just hearing you talk about the shit.
Yep.
About boxing.
Yep.
Right. AJ10 says first boxing channel was Pound for Pound. But as far as Hangouts, you're right. Uvu kicked it off, man. And I got to say, man, along with Carcino, Boxing Socialist,
I think they were the first
today.
Weren't they the first ones to really get that going? Boxing Socialist and Carcino and got everybody together.
They got everybody together. Collabs was just taken to a whole other level.
Yep.
Blood Boxing was there. Mr. Boxing Today, who can forget?
That was my original time. That's how I found Mr. Boxing Today. Actually, was on a Uvu. They brought him on there, and he hit me up on my channel. And yeah, that's around the same time he came on.
Plus, it just brought everything to a whole new level. Look at me. I'm getting my Sharpie. You see that?
I got go with Google Hangouts, but I have something to say about Sharpie too. But go ahead.
Okay. Well, is it good or bad?
It's bad.
Anyway, we're gonna kick Calix off of this hangout. All right.
But no, man, a lot of good memories.
No, I want to say, man, that Boxing Social has definitely started that Uvu thing.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, man, I'm not saying I'm the first, but I think I was definitely one of the first. Just using Hangouts, and I was not using it for what it was meant to be. Hangouts was supposed to for you to talk to people, and as far as like kind of collabs, kind of like we did with Uvu, I would use it to upload my videos because I was just too damn lazy to upload it and download it. That was just, I was like, you mean I can just do what I do anyway, to come on here, just do the video, and then YouTube does all the downloading for me once I end it? That's great. You know what I mean?
It was, because people don't remember. A lot of people who didn't do it this long don't remember. There was a point in time before the smartphones really took off where you would have to get the flip cam. I had the old flip cam when I first started this.
Yeah.
And you'd have to upload the video, and a 7 or 8 minute video sometimes would take an hour to upload. You know, and that's when guys were dropping a couple videos a week, or maybe one per day, maybe, because it took a lot of time to upload videos. And, you know, people don't realize that giant leap that it took with the smartphones, and everybody was able to upload content quicker. And then with the Uvu, but still with Uvu, you had to upload it after. It was just tape. But you took it to another level with the Google Hangouts. You really did, because that's something where.
With that.
Yeah.
See this?
I had something similar.
This baby right here. A lot of my classic videos on Dragon Style. I don't know if you remember that channel.
Yep.
Was with this right here. Okay. I love this. And then it had like I don't know if you could see it. It's kind of hard here, but it had a button where you could download to. Are you able to see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could download to YouTube. I loved it. It stopped working. Like YouTube updated some stuff and it stopped working, that feature. But this thing, I can still use this actually, but it's not high definition.
Right.
But there's no reason to. Like, I don't need this. I could do the same thing on my phone.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But look at this. We're gonna hang this up in the Hall of Fame. Look at this. Look at that. All right. We're gonna hang it up in the Hall of Fame.
Where it all started.
Where it all started, man, and this great stuff. A lot of people are like, "Yeah, DStyle, you're showing your face, dude." I started showing my face, and then with Hangout, because of Hangouts, I stopped showing my face, and then we did the radio thing for a while. So I was like, "Oh, so I could just talk; they don't have to see me, right?" So I got used to doing that. So that's how I did Hangouts, and for a while, this is what people saw, man. This is it right here.
But back in the day, right? But back in the day, everybody showed their face. Everybody had to. That was the way to do it. You had no choice.
Yeah.
And the content I found back in the day because of that, because you had to get it right, because it took so long to upload videos, the content throughout the YTBC was much better than it is today, unfortunately. But, you know, still some good things going on.
Well, back then you had to be creative. I mean, there was no way around it. You know what I mean? But it's just different today. The Hangouts changed a lot. It changed the way people talk. Back in the day, people would do videos, right? And then they would do a response, but sometimes days later, you know, and you're like, sometimes I would be like, there's no way this dude would have countered me like that. Like if I was like right there, and then you would hear their videos and you would see them literally cutting off parts. They probably worked on like 10-minute videos for hours.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it did change the landscape. What it did do better, it did separate those that knew what the hell they were talking about with those that didn't.
You're right.
Okay. Without a shadow of a doubt. But man, it's great. I love doing the Hailstorm. We would come out here and do Hangouts. It was that I remember. I'm not saying I was the first, but in boxing, it was the first show concept that I remember.
Yeah.
That we would do the Hailstorm Hangouts, and then I started doing the boxing report here. Okay. And then, of course, it just went from there. I mean, I would come on here and, you know, I just didn't use it for the traditional or meant to be hangout thing. And that's that. But we had a lot of great memories. We had quite the run. All right. And we're going to have to figure out how we're going to do this without hangouts, because it's just convenient.
Adapt.
You adapt.
That's all you can do. You adapt.
That's right. You have to adapt. All right. By the way, make sure you throw a jab at that like button. Subscribe if you like the content. And look at these notes. Look at this. Look at these notes. Right. Haplotype, ashy. Okay.
Those notes would look better in pen or pencil.
First of all, what were you going to say about what is this dude going to say about Sharpie? I need to hear this.
You can't write in Sharpie, man. Come on. You can't write in Sharpie.
Why not?
It's just, you really write in Sharpie all the time? Like,
No,
why not
not
write
all
with a
the
pen?
time. For the show. Like
Yeah.
I'm not gonna write with a pen like to sign a contract or write a check. Okay, but like first of all, I mostly type. You know, we don't really write like that anymore. But when it comes to the show, it's done with a Sharpie. Absolutely.
All right. Hopefully, a Sharpie comes through with the sponsor, right?
Hopefully. That's the hope. Yeah, right. But look at these notes, bro. Look at this. I do use pen. Do you notice the pen?
Yeah. The pen
That's
looks
right.
good. The pen looks good.
Well, the pen is so it's easier to kind of it's the flow of the show. You got the pen. With that said, I need to call you out on the total blatant disrespect of Josh Taylor last week. Okay. Now I
Is
keep
that what
the
it is
flow of
now?
the show. I go with the flow, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna let it go because we have other shit to talk about. Okay, we had some fights to talk about. We had a great show, but I wrote down the quote.
Okay.
Right. I hear an echo, but this is the quote. Okay, I said you were talking about the winner of this fight, meaning Ramirez and Hooker, can fight Regis Prograis, and like if Josh Taylor didn't exist, and I threw it out, or Josh Taylor, right? And you said, and I quote, "Look, I'm from New Orleans. Okay, Regis is gonna win." Like I don't know what that means. That you're from New Orleans. I know he's from New Orleans, but that doesn't mean he's gonna win. Okay, Josh Taylor's from Scotland, bro. Okay, and all of Scotland's looking for Calix. You're not welcome to Scotland. Okay, after that comment. All right.
I got a lot of love in Scotland from back in the day, though. Wasn't Ricky Burns from Scotland?
Well, you lost the love in Scotland after the blatant disrespect to Josh Taylor. Just blew the guy off like it's no big deal. Like we're just gonna run through him. And I disagree. In fact, I think Josh Taylor's gonna beat him. Okay, let me just go over the stats here really quick. Okay, Regis Prograis. Say, look, and by the way, I know Regis is the truth. Okay, so don't get me wrong. Right, but Regis Prograis 24-0. 20 knockouts, an excellent 83% knockout ratio, really good for 140 pounds. He's from where, Calix?
New Orleans, Louisiana.
All right. He's 5'8", 67-inch reach. Right. Josh Taylor, 15-0, 12 KOs.
Yep.
Pretty solid, right? 5'10", so he's taller. 69.5-inch reach, so he has a better reach than Regis. Both guys are southpaw, by the way. And he's from Scotland, bro. Okay, from the UK and Scotland. Right. I want you to explain to me. And he beat Postile, and I don't care what anybody says. Just because like I hate it when people are like, "Well, Crawford beat Postile." Yeah, that's Crawford, bro. All right, Crawford did that. But look, why? And he even look at the disrespect of BoxRec. Right? Okay, they're ranking Regis Prograis over Josh Taylor, number 2, number 3. Okay, they got Ramirez number 1 right now. Props to Ramirez. But how do you see this matchup, and why are you just like, Taylor? What?
So BoxRec has Ramirez number 1?
Yes.
The one reason I kind of respect BoxRec's rankings is, although I don't agree with a lot of them, is they have their own formula, so it's consistent.
Well, I just go with theirs. It's not none of them are accurate. Right. But they have the database. You know what I mean? Like they have a really good database, so that's why I go with them. But nonetheless, you can't go wrong, really. I mean that's debatable. But nonetheless, even BoxRec, right? Tell me, talk to me. Well, why is Josh Taylor why the disrespect?
What would you consider? I know you've seen Josh Taylor fight like as I have. What would you consider his best punch? I know what I consider his best punch, and I'll just throw it out there. His left uppercut is, in my opinion, his best punch. And I'm glad when you set this up, you said he has a longer reach instead of a reach advantage, because a lot of people say reach advantage or height advantage as if it's always an advantage, and it's not. A lot of times, and I would probably make the argument that more cases than not in today's boxing, the reach and height isn't an advantage. It's a disadvantage because a lot of guys don't know how to use it these days. I like how Josh Taylor fights. He's what Emanuel Stewart would consider back in the day. He would call him a free fighter, to where he keeps his hands down a lot. He throws a lot of punches. He's a very fluid fighter, very athletic, good lateral movement. And he uses range, but he gives it up too. He doesn't mind fighting on the inside, and he throws a lot of punches, so he's going to give up that height. He's not one of those economical punchers to where he's going to stand on the outside and just outbox a guy and keep him on the outside of his jab. He likes to get in there and mix it up too. You saw it in the Baranchik fight, right? You saw that fight, right?
Yeah.
So he caught Baranchik with a hellacious right cross. He sets that up nicely behind the left uppercut, and I consider his left uppercut great. Here's the thing. He hasn't fought that I can remember a southpaw like he hasn't fought anybody like Regis, and you could say the same thing about Regis. He has Regis even said that he hasn't fought. This is his toughest fight coming up, so at least he's giving him that respect, the respect that I'm not giving him, obviously. But when Regis fights, he keeps that right arm like right here, kind of across his body, and that uppercut, that left uppercut's going to be blocked by that.
Right hand's low too.
Right. It's low, but it's blocking that uppercut from coming up. All right. And Regis has no problem fighting on the inside either. And Regis, one thing you have to say about Regis, that guy is a hellacious body puncher. Hellacious body puncher. All right. The guy is a body puncher. He's learned the art of body punching, obviously, and he's going to get into that body of Josh Taylor in that fight. And I think that's going to be the undoing of Taylor in this fight. I think that Prograis is going to wear him down with those body punches.
First of all, Taylor can go to the body too. Okay. The other thing, Josh Taylor has a hell of a counter right hook, right? His right hook, to me, is one of the best in the business. And if Regis goes to the body with a hand low, like he always does, he's going to get clipped with that right hook upstairs, right? It's going to happen. And if he wants to block it, guess what? He'll be open to that uppercut. You say that. Can you hear me?
I got you now.
I lost connection for I don't know what happened. What's the last thing you heard?
The right hook, and then you started to mention the left uppercut.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think you did hear pretty much everything. But just to reiterate what I said, just in case I see some people asking what happened. Okay.
I was wondering the same thing.
But by the way, yes, Brian, absolutely make sure you guys throw a jab at the like button. What's up to Boxing Dialogue in the house? No, there's no set date right now for that fight.
That's what I was going to ask you, too. I still haven't seen the set date or location for this fight. Have they mentioned the location?
No. The Regis said he'll fight him in Scotland. He mentioned it in that post fight, so we will see. I don't know if he just said that because the crowd was booing him, and then
probably
he said, "I'll come to Scotland," and then you're gonna boo me anyway, so then maybe change his mind. But I just think he needs to pick, bro. He needs to pick. Is he? First of all, are you just seeing my avatar, or are you seeing me?
I'm just seeing your avatar.
Let me turn this back on. There we go. All right. So this is what I'll say. All right. The right hook of Taylor is a hell of a. He could lead with it and he could counter with it. And Regis holds his hands too low when he goes to the body every single time.
Taylor holds his hands low as well. But I'm telling you, Prograis is a hell of a body puncher. And so you would consider the right hand his best punch. I would still consider the left uppercut Taylor's best punch. But either way,
the right uppercut's definitely his best punch. But you were talking about how Regis is going to block it. Well, Regis has to pick. He's going to get hit with one or the other. He can't block both, right? Mm-hmm. It's going to be the hook or it's going to be the uppercut. He has to pick because he can't be blocking the uppercut, okay, with his hand down here, okay, and avoid that hook. Because if he comes low punching, he's going to get hit with that hook. I'm telling you.
Okay, here's the thing. Two things I'll bring up real quick. Baranchik caught Taylor with a lot of punches. All right, and that may be he didn't respect his punching power. He did stun him with a couple shots late in that fight, and he did come back well when Taylor knocked him down with that hellacious right hand. Right. So I don't know how much we can take from that fight, But all I'm saying is if Prograis catches him with those same shots, it's nighty night. And Taylor, he has a lot of heart, you can tell. And look, I like him as a fighter. I like him a lot as a fighter. I think he's number 2 at 140. I think he beats Ramirez. That would be my second point. The reason being, although Ramirez is a guy who likes to get in the chest, a guy who would get to his body, that long body, he doesn't have that punching power to slow Taylor down that Prograis does. And that's ultimately what I think will happen. Prograis has good power to the body, can go back upstairs as well. And I think he would slow Taylor down late in that fight. But this is a sneaky good fight. One of the best fights for the rest of the year, really, on paper. So I think that's one of those fights that would heat up. I hope geographically they do the right thing and put this fight either in Scotland or back down here in New Orleans, because Prograis does draw down here, and obviously Taylor draws out there.
After the glove situation with and I know that was not in Scotland, okay, because everybody kind of thinks if it's a UK, it's everywhere in the UK. But after what happened with Dillian Whyte, I don't see a lot of fighters just in a hurry to go fight in the UK.
Fair point.
And that's not Josh Taylor's fault or anything like that, but it's just a reality. And I hope righteous punishment happens. By the way, what is your opinion about the whole glove thing with Dillian Whyte?
And to be honest, I don't even know the glove situation. I just heard the PED situation.
The glove situation is as followed. Okay, you know how they test the gloves or weigh the gloves and approve the gloves the day before?
Right.
So those gloves, Dillian Whyte, apparently, according to him, he gave them to another fighter that needed gloves, another card fighter. And he wore gloves that were not inspected and not weighed. Rivas's camp, when they showed up, he already had the gloves on, so they didn't even see him wrap his hands.
Wow.
Right? So who knows? And the commission refused to have him take off the gloves, and that's how they fought.
Wow. I wouldn't, if I'm the trainer, I don't let my fighter go in. I just don't. I raise hell until they have to do something. I don't care who's saying what, but how do you know what's in his gloves? How do you know what's inside of his wraps?
Yeah.
How do we know? How do we know even right now that they weren't loaded? How do we know?
First of all, why did he do it? I don't buy that an undercard fighter needed the gloves, right? And he said, "Oh, don't worry, the gloves are fine."
It's almost as if, you remember in baseball when a guy's corking his bat and the bat breaks and all of a sudden he runs to go hide the bat and throw it back in the dugout. I mean, if a guy is lending his gloves to someone else in the undercard and then putting on some other gloves real quick, what are we to think of that? I mean, that's what I'm saying. I said in my podcast last night, you dropped Dillian Whyte out of the top 10. You have to. I saw some rankings that still had him at number 5. There was a lot of shady stuff going on that past weekend, and everybody needs to be investigated for what was going on.
Yeah, definitely. I did talk about the Kownacki Arreola fight yesterday. You guys could go ahead and check that out. I believe Calix talked about it on his channel as well, so you guys can check that out as well, by the way. It's here's the thing. All right. I got Taylor, and look at this. Subscriber of the week. Okay. Mini Max Box says he's got Taylor by split decision, and never mind. He got Inoue by KO7. So, you were almost a subscriber of the week. T-Funk84, just got here, hit the like button. What's up, man? Tax Tech. Yeah, he got sold to Uno Arena pretty good. Yeah, Taylor is the second best in that division, says Brian David. Well, they're up there. Can I at least get you to admit that this is a tough fight and not a guarantee?
Yeah. There's no doubt. Okay. There's no doubt. That was my bias. My New Orleans bias comes out, obviously. So I still haven't accepted the Saints losing to the Rams in last year's playoff. So I get a little biased.
That was a robbery.
Yeah, it was.
Okay. Like, bam! Like, not interference. What interference? Interference?
Right.
Anyway, with that said, really quick. You think there should be something in place there's nothing you could do. They can't overturn the game. But there should be something in place to where that calls like that got to get reviewed, right? I mean,
well, they did put something in place finally. I think it's in the last couple minutes or whatever it is. But it doesn't erase what happened, and you shouldn't have something that was just such a blatantly bad call. So, or missed call, I should say.
One more question before we, because these guys are going to fight. We're going to have plenty of time to talk about this. Oh, hopefully, knock on wood. Let me knock on wood right now.
I know
they fight, but you, how do you see Ramirez against these two guys?
That's what I was just saying. As far as I think Ramirez loses to both, and that's all due respect to Ramirez. Yep. I just think that both of these guys can handle. Withstand the deluge that he's going to bring, getting in their chest, getting on the inside. I think they both be able to handle what Hooker couldn't handle. Hooker's length ended up being, like we said last week when we were previewing that fight, his length ended up being his downfall, because once Ramirez gets through that, it ends up being a disadvantage to him, and Ramirez got to the body and broke him down. He's not going to break down Prograis or Taylor the way he did in that fight. I just think those two guys are too fresh, and they go to the body well. They'd be able to slow Ramirez down. But once again, though, those aren't just. That's not. I'm not discounting Ramirez. That's not fights that I would go in and say Ramirez has no shot of winning this fight. Not at all. Ramirez is definitely. A live dog in both of those fights.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think Ramirez has a better shot against Taylor than Regis. That again, stylistically, but and
the triangle, right?
Triangle theory. That's right.
Yeah.
All right, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I want to get to the next one. All right, Luis Nery, bro. You do know he's from the same spot Eric Morales is from, right?
Right.
I'm just saying.
And I think you're showing your bias a little bit.
No.
Inoue is a monster, man.
Let me get to that. So, okay. Look, Luis Nery, 30-0, 24 knockouts, 80% knockout ratio. That's high for that division.
He's a dog, man. He's a dog.
And then Inoue, 18-0, 16 KOs, 89% KO ratio. Again, you guys don't understand how high these KO percentages are for these lower weight classes. He did KO Payano with a brutal right hand in the first round. Okay. That's your common opponent. All right. And look, Luis Nery's 5'6", 66-inch reach, Inoue 5'5", 67.5-inch reach. And he does use that reach very well. But so
does Nery. So does Nery, though.
Nery's a dog, bro. But I want to hear you tell me. Well, first of all right, Inoue's I think we both agree he's gonna destroy Donaire, right? I think he's gonna destroy him.
Yes, and that shows. I'm seeing Donaire ranked 3 in a lot of people's rankings. That shows that that's a shallow division, and we know who the clear 1 and 2 are. Yeah, and they need to just get that done.
Absolutely. That's one answer to Brian David. What do you think about Adrian Broner at 140? We'll see. First of all, yes, Adrian Broner is going to have to change his lifestyle and get really, really dedicated if he wants to have the discipline to constantly make 140. That's number one. And I don't think at this point, man, I don't think
he can't make 140 consistently.
Not consistently, but assuming he makes weight, does he have a shot against these guys? Yeah, he does. He does. He has a shot. Yeah. I think Regis Prograis beats him. I think Josh Taylor beats him. I think Ramirez beats him. That's just my opinion.
Moving down to 140 would be a good career move, though, if he can do it. Because he
has a shot.
He's in those fights. He's in those fights.
He's in those fights for sure. Most definitely. He might match up well with Ramirez, but we will see. We will see. Obviously, Robert Garcia knew how to fight Adrian Broner, right?
Yes.
And he trained Maidana how to do that. And a lot of that was just, go to the body and then feint to the body, go upstairs. And Broner was having he's going to have to work on that because Ramirez can do that just like Maidana did. And now moving on, Nery, Inoue, how do you see this? Like, in your mind, how do you see that fight playing out?
Honestly, I see it being a tough fight for Inoue.
Right.
Because Nery, he's a good counter puncher. He sits back and he uses his reach well. And we know what Inoue does. Inoue, I'm a butcher his name left and right, but he's going balls to the wall. He's a monster. He's strong with both hands. He can knock you out with both hands. He can overwhelm you. He can do a bit of everything. He's flashy. And that's why I love him, man. I love fighters like that. But he's that typical. I was thinking about this the other day. It's like, I don't know what you think about this. The lower weight class guys, we're talking about flyweights, bantamweights, they get a tough rap as far as pound for pound rankings for two reasons. Number one, they don't get the coverage that the higher weight classes get, obviously, so they don't get the recognition. And
well,
they don't
not
get,
in the States, right?
right, but they don't get the recognition in order to get on these pound for pound rankings sooner in their career, which they deserve. And number two, they fight with such a reckless abandonment, and they fight with such a high output of punches in their fights and take so much more punishment than the higher weight classes, that their career shouldn't stretch out as long. Their prime doesn't stretch out as long. So they're not going to stay on the pound for pound rankings long as well. So I don't think either one of these guys is getting the just due that they deserve in the pound for pound rankings. And I think you dropped a video maybe a month or two ago saying that you didn't think that Inoue deserved the pound for pound.
Not number one, no.
Oh, no. Yeah. I don't agree with that either. Okay. But top 10, certainly. Top 10, I would certainly put him somewhere on the shallow end of it.
Okay.
Of the top 10. The talent is off the charts. And that's what he has a bit of everything. But the reason I sort of halt myself before going all in as far as him fighting Nery is what happens when he catches a big punch from Nery. What happens when one of those big power punches come from that southpaw, who knows how to use his reach, who can punch? 20 out of 24 of his wins come by knockout. That's a high percentage. So what happens? I would still pick him. I would still slightly favor him, but I would halt myself before I jump all in to that water.
Let me ask you this. If the fight goes over 6 rounds, who do you favor?
That's where I start to worry. Yeah. I would start to favor Nery going down the stretch, but once again, how many rounds did Nery give up in the first 6 is what I would have to see, because it's hard to score against a guy like Inoue who is showing so much flash, and even when he's missing, they still might be giving him. It would be hard to deal with that output, but I love that matchup because it's the output versus the counter punching, and would Nery be able to slow him down?
Look, man, look. Inoue is a beast, okay? Look at this. 2nd round knockout of last fight. 1st round knockout, that was against Payano. Mm-hmm. Before that, 1st round knockout. Before that, 3rd round knockout. Before that, the guy retired on a stool in the 6th round. Before that, 3rd round knockout, right? And then he had a 6th round knockout. I think he's gone 10 rounds, maybe. He went 12 rounds against Carmona. You know what I mean? He won wide in that fight. It was a little, competitive, but for the most part, he definitely won. But here's my thing. Nery is going to be. He's not going to box Inoue at distance. You know what I mean? He's not going to do that. He's going to close distance.
You don't think?
No, he's going to get close to him, bro. Okay, he's going to smother him. All right? He's going to have – I honestly believe this. He's going to have Inoue on his back foot where he doesn't have as much power. Okay? And Boxing Dialogue, I don't believe it's been tested. And yes, if Donaire catches it with a left hook, we're going to find out what type of a chin Inoue has. Because regardless of power is the last thing to go, but Inoue's
gonna blast him out, Donaire. Yeah. But here's another point I'm gonna bring up as far as Inoue. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, and the other thing, I don't think Inoue's output's gonna be that high because Nery's a really good counterpuncher. And the best example I can give you is look at Pacquiao's punch output will go down when he fought counterpunchers. Mm-hmm. So it's. I just think his output's gonna go down. I disagree that he's going to be ahead on the cards after 6 rounds. It'll be close, but not ahead.
Here's my concern with a guy like Inoue, though, who is blasting guys out early in every fight. Look at Teofimo Lopez right now. Look at what he's saying out in the media right now. Have you caught some of his quotes? He said immediately after the fight, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And that's just because he didn't knock a guy out, and he's taking just a little bit of criticism. It's amazing what that can do to people. Yeah, Teofimo Lopez is saying he's not fighting Comey in his next fight. They're not going to do that fight his next fight.
That's a good thing.
He has to reevaluate what he's doing because obviously he's doing something wrong. But that not getting the knockout messed with Teofimo Lopez's head. I mean, if you look at some of his quotes the past week or two, it's pretty disturbing where his head is right now. And that's just by not getting a knockout. So I always wonder what happens when a guy who's knocking everybody out in 3 or 4 rounds, what happens to him when he gets in those later rounds? And then what happens to him if he doesn't knock a guy out? What happens to his self-esteem? Look at Prince Nassim Hamed. I mean, he lost one fight and he's extinct. He disappears. Yeah. So that's why I worry about a guy like this. But he seems like a different beast, man. He's definitely an alpha.
It's crazy because Barrera called it quits after the first Julian Jones loss, or I think the rematch, I believe. And he was like, "I'm done with boxing," and then he came back, which is a good thing, right?
Right.
But yeah, like talk about. I mean, it does take a certain mental fortitude to come back. But in Teofimo Lopez's case, bro, like you clearly won that fight. Like, chill.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
But like you're not gonna look spectacular in every fight. I think a lot of these guys grow up watching a Mayweather and Pacquiao and think I'm gonna look spectacular like that for and it doesn't work that way.
It also what makes me wonder if he's really struggling with that 135 weight, if he's frustrated with that and he's just saying he's gonna hold off the Comey fight because he doesn't want to fight at 135 anymore. I don't know.
So I got Nery by late round stoppage in this fight. I think he drowns Inoue. He takes him to deep waters and drowns him. The first 3 rounds are extremely, in fact, maybe the first 4 rounds are extremely dangerous. But I think Nery will stuff him. I think he'll keep him on the back foot. That takes away a lot of the power, and I think he stops him late. How do you see this fight going?
Inoue by 3rd or 4th round knockout, somewhere around there. Because I think whoever wins this fight is going to win it by knockout. I don't see it going 12. Right. I think it's going to be too much of a firefight. Inoue is going to be so overwhelming that Nery is going to have to abandon using his range, which I think I disagree with you there. I think he's going to start off trying to use his range, try to use that right jab in the counters, and then he's going to abandon that, go balls to the wall, and then I think Inoue is going to beat him in a firefight and knock him out.
We'll see, man. When he's getting pressured against the ropes and he's getting hit to the body, we will see.
That fight has to happen, though. Another one.
I love this fight. Fight. All right. Anyway, there's something special about this week. Something really special. I must have forgot. What is it again this week?
Roy. When they stole my gold medal in Seoul, Korea, let's look back at my whole career. Y'all must have forgot.
Roy Jones Jr., bro. Man, let me tell you something about Roy, man. I talked a lot about Roy this week, but I can't get over how good he was. Like when you go back and watch him in his prime, it's unbelievable. Like this guy would do things that boxing coaches would tell guys don't do that. Like, no, you don't put your hands behind your back. Like make the opponent miss and then knock him out. Like, well, what are you doing? This isn't a video game. That's what he would tell a normal boxer, right? And Roy did these things. I can't get over it sometimes when I watch it. But what are some of Calix's personal favorite Roy Jones Jr. memories? Fights, whatever.
I have too many to cram in, but to me, one of the best performances I've ever seen. And I mean, if you want to show somebody from 20 years down the road, if you want to show somebody what a bad man Roy Jones was, show him the fight from 1994, moving up to super middleweight, fighting an undefeated James Toney, and just destroying him, dismantling him. I mean, it was just a boxing clinic he put on against James Toney. And it's 2 of the great fighters of all time. I mean, you would both put them both, in top 50, top 100 all time, all the pound for pound rankings. Yeah. And Roy just dismantled them. It looked like man versus boy in there. And that showed how talented Roy was. One of my first memories of him was early 90s. I believe it was my sister's boyfriend at the time was telling me about this guy who enters the ring in a tuxedo, and he's from our neck of the woods. He's from Pensacola, Florida. And I'm like, okay, who is this guy? And then we watch HBO that night, and he blasts some poor guy out. It was just beautiful to watch him in his prime. Roy in the 90s was about as untouchable as you can get. I mean, just a phenomenal athletic specimen. I actually attended one of his fights in New Orleans. That was the Eric Harding fight. I believe that was a unification fight at light heavyweight, and he didn't look good that night, but I think he won by technical decision. I think Harding got injured in that fight, and they stopped the fight. It was sort of a lackluster performance by Roy, but got it done. Fought a lot of times in Louisiana, Mississippi. Fought a lot of times in Mississippi. Yeah. Just a Gulf Coast franchise, and Roy's Roy down here, man. Everybody loves him. But one thing, you can't disregard what happened late in his career. Like, I was looking at this earlier, and I couldn't believe it. I didn't think he had this many fights after, but I remember, I believe, talking to you about it a couple months after it happened. Danny Green, he got blasted out by Danny Green in Sydney, Australia. Do you remember that? He lost in the first round of that fight.
Yep.
And then I was looking at it. He fought like 15 times after that. And I remember at the time, everybody was saying, man, Roy just needs to retire. If he's losing to a Danny Green in the first round off of a flash knockdown, he needs to give it up. And he fought like 15 times after that. I mean, it's sad. It's one of the most disturbing, if not the most disturbing, descents from greatness that I've seen in sports is Roy Jones, going from prime Roy Jones, winning the heavyweight championship, although not the heavyweight champion, still a legit heavyweight title he won, and doing it rather easily, and then going from that to that gradual descent, which ended up being a horrible descent. It was sad to watch.
Are you of the belief that that was the beginning of the end, when he put on all that muscle and then came back down to 175? Or are you of the belief that people that say, oh, it was just a big excuse? Like, what? Are you somewhere in the middle? What?
It's hard to tell, because Tarver used the same excuse, right? He used the same excuse when he filmed the Rocky movie and gained some weight and then came back down in weight and he lost.
Like Tarver gained, he didn't gain like it's different, right? It's different for a heavyweight championship fight over a movie.
But the reason I don't put much stock in that is Roy moved up smartly. Like there's a famed nutritionist and what do you call him? I don't know what you would call a strength and conditioning coach down here called Mackie Shilstone. He helped Spinks move up to fight Muhammad Ali, and he helped Bernard Hopkins move up 2 weight classes to fight Antonio Tarver. Hopkins trained down here for that Tarver fight, and he helped Roy Jones move up and gain smart weight to fight John Ruiz. And what they do is they gain the weight in smart places where it's not gonna slow him down. They gain it in the forearms or whatnot. Not much weight gained in the legs. And Roy Jones gained that weight smart, and then he lost it rather easily after that. So I don't put much stock in that. He put on the weight, and then he came back down, and that's what did it. I just think that once again, first of all, he's a little past his prime, but when a guy gets a little bit of a kink in his armor, and a guy like Antonio Tarver, who he doesn't think is on his level, sort of shows some deficiencies in his game, it messes with him mentally. And I think that a lot of it had to do with mentally what was going on with Roy at the time. But when he got knocked out by Antonio Tarver in that second fight, it was all over, man. That was done. And the Glenn Johnson fight was just even more horrific. And that's one of my memories of Roy, unfortunately, is when he lost that fight. That was just one of the most shocking moments I've seen in boxing, when he lost to Tarver. Yeah. I mean, everybody was just blown away, shocked. And maybe even more so the Glenn Johnson knockout, because that knockout was so vicious.
Well, the Glenn Johnson, we had already seen him get knocked out. Right?
But that was a vicious knockout.
But it was vicious. But, man, let me tell you, man, maybe you can make an argument for Tarver, but I don't see how Glenn Johnson beats a prime Roy. Like, no way.
Even Tarver,
So
I don't. Even
yeah,
Tarver, I don't see it. And Tarver can say all he wants about, oh, I was sizing this guy up since the amateurs. I had his number.
yeah.
No, man, nobody touches the prime Roy. They caught him at the right time, and look, that's all due respect to Tarver, but they caught him at the right time.
No, speaking of the right time, because what was not at the right time was the B Hop Roy Jones rematch.
Oh my God!
Which, by the way, I think that's the worst pay-per-view fight I've ever seen.
No, it's not. You know, the worst pay-per-view fight I've ever seen was Sergio Mora versus Shane Mosley. But that's a close. Yes, that one's a close second.
I don't know.
Yeah, they were both bad though. It's close.
But here's what I'll say: the fight when B Hop beat Trinidad, right?
Yeah,
and there was talks about B Hop fighting, and B Hop eventually did move up and fought Tarver and all that. Who do you think would have won that fight at that time?
What year was that again?
That was early.
That was 01. Yeah, that was right after September 11. That was a couple.
01, 02. Let's say 02.
No, it was 01 because that was a couple weeks after September 11. I remember.
Yeah, but they would have scheduled the fight.
Yeah, you're right. 02, it would have been 02, and Roy was fighting Glenn Kelly, Clinton Woods. That was still before the John Ruiz fight. I would still favor Roy, but it would have been close. That would have been close because Bernard would have stunk that out. And you got to remember, Roy had a bad hand in that first Hopkins fight, but that was Hopkins before he caught his groove. Got to admit, but I would still have favored slightly Roy. But that calls into question the dynamic between Roy and Bernard is interesting because in their primes, there's no question everybody says Roy. But when you look at what happened later in their career, Bernard Hopkins kept adding to his legacy, his storied career. And then Roy is just coming down, having a hard, their trajectories were completely different. So it calls into question, who do you consider being greater overall? Roy or Bernard Hopkins? Right. I mean, it's an interesting conversation to have.
Yeah, that's definitely
because you can't discount what happened with Roy because he fought so many times. I mean, there's certain guys. Pernell Whitaker lost his last fight, right? And he lost his last fight to somebody who wasn't great, but you almost discount it. You're like, nah, he was testing it to see if he still had it, but he gave it up. But Roy kept going and going and going. I mean, how many fights did he have after the Antonio Tarver loss? Probably like 25 fights, right?
Yeah.
6, 7, 8. I mean, and you can't forget the Joe Calzaghe fight when Max Kellerman put it best. He's out Roy Jonesing Roy Jones.
Well, look, this is B-Hop Roy Jones. This is why Sharpie is a good thing. Okay. I couldn't do this if I had a pen, by the way. I'm just letting you know. Right. But you see that? You see this graphic?
Yeah.
Right? This is B-Hop, okay, and Roy when they fought, and that's how their careers went.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So B-Hop was like here, and Roy was like here when they fought, bro. Okay, yeah. Like I'm telling you, like this is around the time they fought. Like around the time they fought, it was like right here, man. It was like right there when they fought.
And when they're crossing right there, that's probably around 02-ish when you're asking me. I mean, they were pretty even. And I remember them argue. I remember you can go on YouTube and seeing them argue after their pay-per-views on the same night. About who deserves 60, who deserves 40. There's a 50-50.
Oh, AJ said it, but 60-40, I tear your ass up.
Yeah.
That's all he kept saying. And then all of a sudden, B-Hop went from talking smack to being all like, he would do this a lot. He would be like, oh, come on, Roy. You see, guys, Roy's the reason the fight's not going to happen, man. Like just get the hell out of here, bro. Being a politician all of a sudden. Right? Yeah. But I think Hopkins should have taken the 40%, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, he should have. And
I think he knew he wasn't going to win. I think that's why he didn't do it.
Yeah, maybe so. And I would have slightly favored Roy at that time. But I like to remember the prime Roy. And the prime Roy was just brutal, man. And the Virgil Hill, you put up the post. My favorite knockout of Roy was the Virgil Hill body shot. I mean, just a beautiful shot.
Wow. And sounded like a gunshot, bro.
Yeah, and I remember that clearly because Virgil Hill was one of my uncle's favorite fighters. I mean, he was talking about Virgil Hill all the time.
Was going to the body. Did you see that? And you could hear his corner. There you go. there you go, and then bam, and it's a wrap, bro. I don't know if it annoyed Roy or something, and then he just, you know what, like, but
yeah, he turned it on. That was Roy.
What do you think about him? Like, even the persona, bro. Like the whole. I honestly think he was the first fighter that I remember. I could be wrong. I've got Scrapbook over here. Maybe he knows, but I think he's the one that started the whole making it look easy thing. You know what I mean? Like, oh, Roy doesn't even take it serious. He played basketball before the fight, and
you remember that? Yeah. I clearly remember him playing semi-pro basketball the day of the fight, and they're filming him play semi-pro basketball. He's like, I'm gonna play a whole game. I'm not even subbing in. I'm playing the whole game, point guard, and then I'm gonna play the same night. I mean, it's like, Roy, what if you turn an ankle and the whole card goes to crap? But no, I mean, and not only did he play a basketball game, he put on the headset like we have right now, the Janet Jackson, Bobby Brown headset, wrapped himself into the ring, all right, and then went in there and won the fight, and then gave the post-fight and talked about how he was the best man to ever do it.
I actually didn't know that. He wrapped himself walking to the ring?
He walked? No, not wrapping his hands. I'm talking about
No, I know wrap. Like, I know.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Oh, yeah. He wrapped himself to the ring.
Hey, Callie said this guy is so he doesn't know shit about rap. He's a boxing fan. He thinks like
he wraps himself into the ring wearing a tuxedo. I mean, it's like this guy is alpha. He is that dude. I mean, he did everything. He was a Renaissance man. I mean, and then he talked after the fight about how he was the baddest man on the planet. I mean, he was a bad man, a bad man.
Roy's arsenal of punches, his straight right, beautiful. Well, what did he say on a broadcast once? Like they were talking about gloves, and he's like, "I like the Grant gloves, because I used my pistol or something like that. I forgot what he called it. He had like a name for it,
right?
You know what I mean? And then his left hook, beautiful. But he also threw hooks off his back foot at times, and they were beautiful. He threw straight crosses, hooks through the back foot. It was just his counter left hook was beautiful. He also just made up punches. Like, well, I got that punch I learned that from a cockfight. Like, okay, like it's just he just made he just threw whatever was open at whatever angle, and he could get away with it.
Yep. And the James Toney fight is always one of my go-to fights, man. It's like it's like watching Mayweather fight Diego Corrales. I mean, it's one of those perfect performances. But doing it against James Toney, it's a whole different level.
Which win aged better, considering how he won,
the
significance of it, and
Roy,
and throughout the career, Roy's win over James Toney or his win over Hopkins, which one aged better?
I think Toney, just how he did it.
Yeah.
Just how he did it, right? I mean, I think that's a legacy defining performance. And the win against Bernard Hopkins, obviously, it's a big win, and it's a resume defining win as well. But I just see how he did it, how he broke down James Toney. It was just a thing of beauty. Yeah. And he walks into the ring to Thuggish Ruggish Bone, and he just beats him up. He's an alpha. I think he had the rat tail going for that fight too.
Did he have a headset when he was rapping, or was he holding a mic with his glove? I'm just curious.
He had the headset on. Had the headset on. I remember him clearly with the headset on. He's walking into the ring. I think that's the same fight where he played basketball earlier in the night. So he played basketball. He wrapped himself to the ring, and then he knocked somebody out. And then he grabbed the mic after the fight and said, "I'm the baddest man on the planet."
Maybe Scrapbook knows, or one of you guys in the chat knows. Maybe you know, Calix, but there was a fight. I swear to God, I was looking for it. I can't find it. There was a fight where in the corner, his trainer told him, or his cornerman told him, "Roy, we got to go to we're going to be late to the party. You got to get this guy out of here." And then he went out and knocked the dude out that round.
I don't remember who that was either, but I remember clearly seeing that. He said, "We got to get to a party, man. We got to get out of here." And Roy's like, "All right, I got you." Knocked him out that same round. Yeah,
right.
You're right about that. Right, there's so many epic moments for Roy. It's unfortunately a lot of it gets overshadowed by what we saw late in his career, and it's unfortunate that a lot of young boxing fans don't know how great he is because they saw the older Roy.
Right. Absolutely. Now, I do want to ask you, man. And like, what do you think of his last? What I believe was his last great performance against Jeff Lacey. You see that fight?
I did, and I was supposed to attend that fight. That fight was, if I'm not mistaken, that was in Biloxi, about 45 minutes from my house. It was either in Biloxi or Pensacola. Somebody
Right.
can get the fact checker in there. I think that fight was in Biloxi, Mississippi versus Jeff Lacey.
AJ10.
But it was a great performance. But once again, that was his last great performance. You're right. But it was against Jeff Lacey, and the writing was on the wall with Jeff Lacey at that point, right? I mean, he only had 2 losses, but he was exposed at that point. And I remember a lot of people saying
it was Biloxi. The fact checker checked Biloxi. Okay. Yeah. And he also fact checked the Clinton Woods was the fight where you have the headset on.
Woo! Yeah.
I got the Roy Jones headset. Look at me. Yeah.
But yeah, it was a great performance. And I just remember I was supposed to attend that fight. It was for some trinket. I don't remember which one it was, but they were both well past their prime. So it was kind of overshadowed once again. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, he lost like 3 or 4 straight fights after that. I think the Danny Green fight was right after that. And that was sad to watch because that was just like, I remember Bill Cosby doing an interview one time and saying, and look, you say what you want about Bill Cosby, but he did an interview one time where he said he saw Joe Louis walking into the ring, old Joe Louis, and how sad he was watching an old Joe Louis walk to the ring. And he was knocked out later that night. And, I sort of got the same dissatisfaction with watching an old Roy get knocked out by a journeyman. I think he lost to Enzo Maccarinelli late in his career too. So it was sad to watch, man.
Yeah. Yeah, Roy Jones also represented boxing. He knocked out an MMA fighter. I think that was the last fight, wasn't it?
That was that Bobby Gunn or somebody like that?
No, that was a bare knuckle. Like he beat the bare knuckle champ, right? And then he beat it like an MMA dude. Like just like just like
his last fight, he did the homecoming fight to send himself off in Pensacola. That was last year, I believe. So yeah, it's hard to believe he just retired last year. He's not going to be up for the Hall of Fame till 2023, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I remember you saying this, like, there's dudes that we don't have to wait. Like, we could put him right now. Like Roy, you could put him right now.
Yeah, put Roy in right now. I mean,
by the way,
pre first ballot Hall of Famer.
Am I right about? Are Roy and Hopkins going to go in on the same year, bro?
Is that right? Hopkins was that 17?
Check on that.
Because Roy was early 18 was his last fight. Okay. Hopkins was either 17 or 18. So that would be interesting if they both go in at the same time. I hope that happens. I hope Hopkins retired 18 and they both go in at the same time.
Yeah.
But just think about it, man. And look, I'm not into telling fighters when they should retire and whatnot. It's just sad to see, like Zab Judah. Occupy Roy Jones. We should occupy Zab Judah because it's sad seeing Zab Judah where he is right now as well. But hindsight's 2020. But what if he does retire after John Ruiz? I mean, just think of where he would be in the all-time pound-for-pound rankings if he goes out heavyweight champion after what he did in the 90s.
So I guess I'm wrong. Hopkins was 2016 and
really
2018 for Roy. So it's been that long, bro. December. Well, it was in a tail end. Maybe that's why it doesn't feel that long. It's December 2016. Yeah, he's going to be first ballot, so they're not going to be together. But that's okay. I want to go over some. I remember before the show, Callie said we got to go over the rap, and I'm like, okay. And I was looking for my raps, like all right, sure. Are we gonna like show people how to rap hands? And no, the Roy Jones rap. All right. Oh, okay. Fine. Okay. Anyway, in all seriousness, he said we're gonna go over bars, and I bought a circuit bar. A Hershey bar, that is. Anyway, in all seriousness, I just want to go over the lyrics here, okay?
Yeah.
Do you want to read them or should I read them? What do you want to do?
Go, man. We could go bar for bar. You read one, I'll read the other.
I'm not going to rap. I'm just going to read it. So so first of all, we're going to go over You Must Have Forgot by Roy Jones Jr. And we're going to just, and just kind of remember, so we can remember everything, right? So the intro, I don't even think this is Roy, but it says, everybody, get on your feet right now for Roy Jones Jr., the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Whoever don't agree, you know what?
Yeah.
I guess you must have forgot.
Dun, dun,
Now,
dun,
I do want to ask here,
dun,
was
dun.
there like a dispute at the time? Was there like, I'm trying to think, maybe De La Hoya, or like, if you don't agree, was there like some dispute going on? Is that why the song came out, or who was questioning Roy? Is what I'm trying to figure out.
Well, I think this is early 2000s, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah,
maybe
but
around 2000, 2001. So Hopkins was trying to claim that he's coming up in the pound for pound
okay.
rankings. Young Mayweather is trying to say, hey, look at me, I'm pound for pound. So this is around the time Shane Mosley and Oscar De La Hoya were
Okay.
getting it on, and they were both in the pound for pound. So maybe Roy was like, look,
I guess you must have forgot.
yeah.
All right. Well, what's the? Let me see. I'll do the next bar since that one didn't count. It wasn't Roy. Okay. So, and it's a short line. Look at this. Hold on. Damn. I don't even know where to stop. I don't know how bars work.
When they stole my gold medal in Seoul, Korea, let's look back at my whole career. Y'all must have forgot. And look, they did steal. They did steal it.
Yeah.
That was one of the great robberies in boxing history.
Well, yesterday I say that's the worst robbery I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Where you can't even argue it, even if you tried. You know what I mean? Like, and someone said Evander Holyfield Lewis the first fight, but I think it's way worse than that.
Yeah.
Right?
Nothing comes to mind that I could think of that's worse. And what makes it worse is these guys aren't paid. They aren't fighting for money. The gold medal was his. The gold medal was what he was working for, and he talked about it even into his pro career. Like that hurt. That hurt him.
So he's trying to tell people, hey, I should be a gold medalist, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's that. You know what I mean? In fact, I even remember the Trinidad fight. Talking about a fight that happened way too late.
Yeah.
But actually, I think Trinidad put up a better fight than he would have. Okay, they fought. Okay, in the late '90s. All right, yeah. I'm just being honest. Mm-hmm. But it said he said, and I'm going to beat another gold medalist, right? Because he had beaten several gold medalists in his career. Mm-hmm. And he still said, I'm going to beat another gold medal, because he acknowledged like Roy's the gold. He should have been the gold medalist of Korea. The next line: the best pound for pound is mine. Hit Percy Harris with 4 hooks at one time. Y'all must have forgot.
And that was beautiful. That was a beautiful combination with one hand.
Has there ever been a better 4-hand combination with one hand ever? That you could think of off the top of your head.
The only thing that comes to mind is when the great combination that Pacquiao did on Claudi's head. Remember the 1-2 at the same time where he punched him at the same? No, I'm joking. Because remember when he punched him like that?
Which is illegal in boxing, by the way. Right. Mind-boggling, but
no, but that was dude. That's one of the greatest fast twitch muscles I've ever seen. Roy in his prime in the '90s, and that showed it right there. You shouldn't be able to throw a hook like that.
Like, I guarantee you, no boxing trainer is telling you, hey, we're going to learn how to throw 4 hooks at the same time.
No, you're going to throw a 3-3-3-3. Who's teaching a 3-3-3-3 in the gym?
No,
with the same hand. No, nobody.
No, you're going to get counter, bro. Any other dude's going to get counter. It's not. You don't do that. What's the next line?
He said, when I beat Bernard Hopkins and won the IBF, the right hand was hurt. Beat him with the left, and that's what I'm talking about.
Must have forgot.
He beat Hopkins, although a pre-prime Hopkins. He beat him with one hand.
Still solid fighter. He was still solid.
Yeah.
At the time. But I'm hearing an echo here. But let's see. You remember the left hook that James Toney got? Suck a move I stole from a Gamecock. Y'all must have forgot.
And he used to talk about how he used to watch the cockfighting. He used to watch because he was very much into the cockfighting. And I'm not going to say he was into dogfighting, but he was into the cockfighting. And he used to watch them and steal some moves from them. And that was one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, he was honest about it. I remember him taking pictures with the Roosters and stuff.
Yeah.
A fighter cannot do that today. Okay, not in this world. Not today. Will there be another Roy Jones? Probably not. Stop Virgil Hill with a body shot. Y'all must have forgot.
And it sounded like a gunshot.
Yeah.
I got disqualified in March of '97 after a Gipno, and he really went off here because he's still mad about that. After giving a whipping to Montel Griffin, late hit, my title, they had to take it. Why? I guess that's the only way I could lose. 5 months later, rematch. I need my crown. First round, one punch, and he sat down. Don't get mad because I'm amped already. Took titles from fighters who was champs already. The heart and soul of boxing on HBO. What these other fighters take me for? A joke? Y'all must have forgot. And he was pissed about that one.
Yeah.
As he should have been. And that's one I still remember to this. I remember where I was. I was at my grandma's house watching the fight, and we were all shocked.
Probably upset too. What was the consensus that he sold it? Is that the Montel Griffin? You think he sold that?
Oh yeah, he definitely sold it. And Roy knew he sold it, which is why he took it out on him in the second fight.
Yeah. And then how weird is it? HBO, you know what I mean? It's not even around anymore.
Yeah, no.
It used to be the premier gold standard. That's what they called it, the gold standard.
We're going to be telling our kids about one day about, we used to watch fights on HBO. You know, kind of like the previous generation tells us about how they watch fights on network TV, and although we're watching them on network TV, but I'll be telling my kids about that, about watching Tuesday night fights on USA when I was a kid, and all that stuff. But yeah, he was Mr. HBO for a while, even for 2 decades, right? He was calling fights on HBO.
Yeah, that's right. He did,
and he was much better than George Foreman as a commentator, I must say.
I agree with that. I don't think Roy was bad, but I do agree that Roy Jones was better. Definitely better than Leonard too.
Yeah, Leonard's terrible.
Leonard refuses to criticize anyone ever.
Yeah, he's terrible.
He did good, and he got knocked out in the second round. And they got the nerve to say, "I ain't fight nobody. I just make him look like nobody." You must have forgot. I think that was one of the criticisms, right?
Yeah, it was. He was his own promoter, right? So he turned down a lot of the big promoters and turned down a lot of fights that a lot of people wanted him to take at the time. But I think he silenced a lot of those people with those big wins, like the Bernard Hopkins and the James Toney performance.
What's the next line?
And David Telasco, he really asked for it, so I beat him with a fractured wrist. Y'all must have forgot.
Remember that? But what do you remember about that fight?
I don't remember much about that fight, to be honest.
Yeah, but he had a fractured wrist. By the way, do you make much of I know we already passed it, but of him having a hurt hand against Hopkins?
Yeah. I think that was a real thing. I think that's documented that was a real thing.
Okay.
And he beat him. I don't think he had a fractured hand, a broke hand, or anything like that. But I think he definitely tweaked his hand coming into that fight and wasn't able to use it much. And you can watch that fight and tell.
Okay. Yeah, and he still beat him.
Yeah,
and that's why he put it on the chat. Somebody said it was 5 hooks in a row. Maybe Roy was being modest. You know what I mean? I think in other fights he did land. Like I don't know. I would have to count them, but.
And I don't remember much about the Telesco fight, to be honest. I'm looking it up now. It was 2000. So I just don't recall that fight too much.
I remember you hurt his hand in the 7th round, says Brian David. Scrapbook says Roy Jones confronted rapper Fat Joe for mentioning him in the song Lean Back. What's the story behind that?
Well, I saw the interview that Fat Joe did. Fat Joe did that interview with a couple people. I saw it on DJ Vlad. I saw it on I think he did that with Dan Le Batard too. He documented it. He was pissed about there was a song called Lean Back where Fat Joe said even Roy Jones was forced to lean back. After I think that was after the Glenn Johnson fight, if I'm not mistaken. It might have been after the Tarver fight, but I think it was after the Glenn Johnson fight. And Fat Joe was a huge fan of Roy Jones. Called him the baddest man on the planet. So he didn't really mean it as a disrespect, sort of like, even the best is forced to lean back. But Roy actually confronted him at a New York nightclub with a guy who is from the neighborhood that I grew up in. It was Roy Jones and a rapper called Chopper. And they confronted Fat Joe when Fat Joe was coming out of the club, and he wasn't near about 50 people that were with Fat Joe, because Fat Joe always rolled deep. And he said, "Hey, what's with the line?" And Fat Joe is basically telling him, "Hey, you don't want to do this here because there are a lot of people with me. You don't want this to go down like it is." And basically, it was diffused. Roy walked away, and they ended up hanging out with each other a couple weeks later, but could have turned into something bad. But yeah, Roy doesn't like people saying that type of stuff.
Yeah. Well, what's the next line?
Um, in the ring I box, there is none higher. When I use these, they call me sire. To burn my kingdom, I must lose fire, and I won't stop boxing till I retire. Obviously, I'm Roy. Y'all must have forgot. Y'all must have forgot when I beat Reggie Johnson and took his light. It took his light heavyweight title from him. See, y'all must have forgot that I'm nice with these. Y'all must have forgot this is what I do. Y'all must have forgot. We could go on and on. Mike McCallum, Vinny Pazienza. Y'all must have forgot, and he ends it there.
Yeah, he could have added more stuff, right? He kind of sold himself short a little bit.
Yeah, he could have. I don't want to see the remix today, though.
No, when I got knocked out by Tarver, like they know, it's not going to be a good merger here. But Boxing Dialogue said Max Thomas said Roy got real pissed with him at what time for something similar. I mean, what are you going to do? I'm nice with these is my favorite line since G Funky 84. Man, this was some. You have any final thoughts on Roy Jones Jr., Calix?
No, I mean, I like to remember the good times, like I said, but with him, it's almost like we speak of Pacquiao having almost 4 careers with one career, and then one career. It's the same with Roy, but he's had like a really brutal career in his last. But just think of how long it went. I mean, it's almost like, you see a lot of fighters, legendary fighters who lose 1 or 2 fights late and they kind of hang it up. I mean, with the exception of some. Evander Holyfield comes to mind. Joe Louis comes to mind. But Roy just fought way too many fights.
That's the John Ruiz fight. If he retires right there, right? And Roy Jones calls it quits right here with this line right here.
One of the greatest of all time, hands down.
So here's my question. Why can't he be one of the greatest of all time right now?
That's my question. I mean, that's $1 million question. I think it depends on how you look at it. And that's the great debate between Roy and Bernard Hopkins. Is like, okay, how much weight do you put on the guys fighting past their career? All right. If we're going to give Hopkins all this credit for what he did late in his career, do we do the opposite end of the spectrum for Roy? All right. Do we discredit do we bring his career down for what he did? I mean, he just fought so many fights late, DStyle. It's not like it was just 1 or 2. I mean, look at all his fight losses late. Macaronelli, Lebedev, the Hopkins loss, the Danny Green first round loss, the Joe Calzaghe fight where he was just outclassed. The 2 Tarver losses, the Glenn Johnson loss.
Brian did said Roy Jones Jr. the first boxer to wearing Air Jordans in the boxing ring.
Yeah, and I remember that clearly from the fight that I attended in New Orleans when he fought Eric Harding for the unification. Was Mystical walked him into the ring. He wrapped him into the ring that night, and then Michael Jordan comes in walking late, and everybody in the whole arena is just going crazy because Michael Jordan walks into the arena as Roy Jones is wearing the Air Jordan stuff in the ring.
Just crazy. AJ just made a good point. He said, all right, if your favorite bands put out legendary albums and then for some reason releases bad albums in the end, do we discount what they did in the beginning?
And that's pretty much every artist, right? As far as, look at hip hop, look at Jay-Z, Nas, how much subpar stuff they did late in their career. But look at what they did in the late 90s, early 2000s, and some of the stuff they did later on. But most of it was subpar. But I just keep going back to it, man. There's so many terrible performances late. So many. Right? You got to knock it down at least a notch, right? And I hate saying that. I'm a Roy Jones guy, but
yeah.
Yeah.
You have to. It's a good point. I think, especially since you have to question, right? There's some being good at a later age is the thing. You know what I mean? Look at Hopkins, what he did in his 40s. Look at what
Pacquiao's doing now. Look at Mayweather, what he did close to 40. And it's sport by sport now. LeBron's going to play probably into his 40s. And look at what Tom Brady's doing at 45, 46. Drew Brees in his early 40s. So that's sort of the thing now with the new strength and conditioning. And who knows what these guys are taking.
Right.
So maybe that's going to diminish in a little bit too. But I just can't get over the fact that this guy fought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 fights after Danny Green lost in the first round. I can't get over that.
The good thing, he did bring it down a notch in level of competition last 4 fights or so. So that's good. But or not a notch. He went down quite a bit. And
it's true. He did finish off his career 12-1 in his last 13 fights.
Yeah.
So
but he went down in the level of competition, which he should have done a long time ago.
Right.
Okay. But I do want to say here, there's a poll out. Are you able to see that? Are you able to see that or no?
Yeah. Come on, man. What are y'all doing? Vote for Cotto. What are y'all doing?
So check it out. Check it out. All right. First, I got 3 thumbs down. I don't know what's coming here. Like, I've been having some haters here lately, but it's all right. No way Roy Jones was going to age well with his style, his boxing dialogue. Yeah, it depended a lot on his reflexes and all that. But with that said, we're 72 votes in. We didn't need 8 more votes, guys, to make this official. We need 80 votes. Okay?
Y'all need to be Cotto votes.
Okay. Now, granted, 25% for Hopkins is on his 4th week, bro.
And Cotto's on his 3rd week.
Cotto's on his 3rd week. I thought these guys were going to make it in like earlier, but I guess not. Morales, 32% of the vote right now.
He's going to get it. He's going to get it.
Cotto, 24%, and Winky Wright with 19%. I think all of them are safe in terms of advancing or staying alive for next week, but it looks like Morales might win, but you never know. Here's what I need you guys to do. I need you to share the link. Make sure, tell them to go to DStyleBoxing, tell them to go to community page, tell them to vote. All right. AJ 10 says Morales for him. Chris N says Winky Wright.
What week is Winky on?
What do you mean?
What week is he in the poll? How many weeks has he been?
He just won the eliminator, so now he's in the main poll.
Okay, so this is the first week.
First week for Winky, so he's got time. But that's that. I don't know if you heard the other day, we're going to put Evander Holyfield next week on the eliminator.
I did see that.
Okay, and we've got to figure out who we're going to put next as well. And that's that, guys. Go vote in the polls. Go vote in the polls. Go vote in the polls. Calix has a channel. He could tell people to go vote for Cotto if he wants.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. That's a good idea.
Brian Davis says Calix used a bad example. Jay-Z, keep putting him out hits.
No, he's not. Come on. Stop giving Jay-Z credit for stuff he's not doing. Same with Beyonce. They're putting out subpar work. Stop giving them credit. That's a whole nother conversation.
Now, is that subpar for their standards or subpar?
Yeah. I mean, I guess for their standards, but it's still subpar. It's not great.
No. Look. I'm a rock and roll dude. I'm a rock guy, but a lot of Metallica fans hate their new stuff. I like it. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
it is what it is. Brian David till this day, says Chris M. All right. And I like Morales and DStyle's favorite fighter. Absolutely. Till this day is my favorite fighter. Make no mistake about that. With that said, guys, this is DStyle and Calix.
Yo.
You know what I say? This is DStyleBoxing.
Keep it boxing.
That's right. Peace.
Peace.